Productions, baby.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm JJ, your local neighborhood psychotherapist. Gonna cover the news today, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here, and there's also a link to my Instagram where I put out tons of news throughout the day, and each news thing that I put out there, there'll be a little summary of it, so you'll stay informed. Very, very quick reads and very informative. All right, let's talk about this news. All right, we're gonna start off with this one here, which is wild. It goes to show that Biden he doesn't really know what's going on. This goes to show that he really doesn't have all his faculty. It's crazy. Like they put in Weekend at Bernie. He's Weekend at Bernie's. He's just there. He's just a body. He don't know where he is most of the time. You can see him looking lost and all this stuff. But this right here is really the worst faux pas that you could do right here. Where's Jackie? Biden asked, referring to Rep. Jackie Walorski, who recently died in a car accident. It's crazy. Joe Biden on Wednesday delivered remarks at a White House conference on hunger, nutrition, and health. Shortly after walking on stage, Joe Biden pointed at random people and yelled, "Don't jump." Why does he always do this? So here's what he said, "Don't jump." And then we'll show him asking, where's Jackie? Weird, man. This is some weird stuff that he do. 79-year-old Biden slurred and mumbled his way through his speech. At one point, Joe Biden asked, "Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie?" Referring to GOP Rep. Jackie Walorski, who recently died in a car accident. This is wild. So here you go here, asking where's Jackie?
Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here to help make this a reality.
I mean, wow. Talk about faux pas. It's sad. It's sad. And this man is the leader of the free world here. The leader of the free world. All right. Excuse my boomer tech. I'll get a new computer one day. All right. Let's see. President Trump warns of World War III, says possible nuclear war keeps him up at night. Because look at everything that's going on. I mean, Biden is not only ruining the United States, he's ruining the whole world. President Trump shared on Tuesday his concerns about a potential nuclear war, which is keeping him up at night. President Trump dialed into podcasts Cats at Night, I have never heard of them, where he discussed the potential of a world war. President Biden shared, former President Donald Trump warned Tuesday a World War III could erupt over Ukraine or Taiwan, and said Russian President Vladimir Putin's threat of unleashing nuclear weapons made this a, quote, a very bad and very dangerous time. During an appearance on 77 WABC radio, Trump was asked by host John Cassimatidis, sorry, I'm killing your name, but what things keep you up at night? Quote, I think more than anything else, I think we could end up in World War III, and it could be all of the horrible things that took place in Ukraine, he said. Looks like it's going to happen in China with Taiwan, happen to China and Taiwan, as you know, and you see what's going on over there. Trump also alluded to Putin's speech last week, in which he vowed to, quote, use all means at our disposal to protect Russia and our people. Quote, I think we're at the most dangerous time maybe in many, many years, maybe ever, because of the power of nuclear, Trump said. Quote, for a major nation that's equal with us on nuclear power to be thrown around the world cavalierly like nuclear is very bad. Very bad time. It's a very bad time. A very bad time for this country, a very bad time and very dangerous time for the world. Trump also agreed with Katzman Matis, however you say his name, suggesting that if he were still president, Putin wouldn't have invaded Ukraine earlier this year. I would agree. But here's the discussion here. I'm not really gonna play it because I just read it. But I wholeheartedly agree with Trump that this could be this could be World War III on two fronts. It could be with China and it could be with Russia. Craziness. All right. House Republicans launch probe into education departments' funding of woke universities. House Republicans are investigating. Oops, let me put my phone on silent. Sorry. Sorry about that. House Republicans are investigating the Department of Education dispersal of federal funds to academic institutions that, quote, suppress free speech, according to a letter from Rep. James Comer, the ranking member of the House Committee of Oversight and Reform, and Rep. Virginia Foxx, the ranking member of the House Committee on Education and Labor. The Oversight Committee is requesting a briefing on what steps, if any, the department has taken to safeguard academic freedom on campus, according to a copy of the letter obtained by the Washington Free Beacon, delivered to Biden Education Secretary Miguel Cardona on Wednesday. The letter rattles off a string of cases in which taxpayers have indirectly footed the bill for censorship, including $620 million the Education Department sent to Yale University, where administrators investigated a law student for using the term trap house in an email. That's just crazy. And the thing is, if you don't have free speech in our universities, where can you have free speech? Because places like universities is where you're supposed to have debate. You're supposed to be able to speak on your ideas, your ideals, and you're supposed to be able to debate. And none of that is happening on these campuses, especially these super duper woke leftist campuses. Quote, institutions of higher learning are places where faculty and students should test, develop, and fine-tune theories, thoughts, and ideas, Comer and Fox write, and I agree. Unfortunately, colleges and universities are stifling free thought and expression. The letter states that the, quote, proliferation of cancel culture extends to public institutions which are funded entirely by the taxpayer and bound by the First Amendment. At the University of Washington, for example, administrators discipline a computer science professor who refuses to include a land acknowledgement in his syllabi. The Department of Education did not respond to a request for comment. Delivered just 6 weeks ahead of the midterm elections, the letter reflects the growing partisan divide over higher education. Only 31% of Republicans say the liberal and conservative views are respected equally on campus, according to a March poll from the American Council on Education. Among Democrats, the number is 57%. And thank goodness I had the wherewithal to actually go to a conservative school where I was able to speak my voice and have debate and have open discussions without worrying about being censored. The gap has grown as universities themselves have become more liberal. Between 1990 and 2014, the share of conservative and moderate professors dropped from 6 and 13 points, respectively, a survey from Higher Education Research Institute found, while the share of self-identified liberal professors rose by 18 points. The trend is even starker among college administrators, whose ranks have exploded over the past 2 decades, and among whom liberals now outnumber conservatives 12-1. So in these institutions, it's definitely one-sided. The partisan tilt may explain why university censorship disproportionately targets right-leaning faculty. It doesn't matter. Everyone should be able to speak on their ideals. In just the past year, the letter notes Princeton University, Georgetown Law School, and the University of Pennsylvania have either punished or investigated professors whose views do not, quote, align with ever-changing norms of political correctness. These cases reflect an empirically variable trend. Data from Acadia University, Jeffrey Sachs, suggests that conservative professors are at least twice as likely as liberal professors to be fired for political speech. That is ridiculous. The universities engaging in such censorship are flush with federal cash. In 2019, government data show the Department of Education doled out $830 million to the University of Pennsylvania, $370 million to Georgetown, and $1.2 billion to the University of Washington. Total federal funding for higher education hovers at around $190 billion annually. As long as American taxpayers make a significant investment in colleges and universities, the letter argues those schools should be havens of free speech, and I agree. But we'll see what happens with that. I'm not holding my breath. I don't trust none of these institutions. All of these institutions, from every institution, from banking to big corporations. To the government, is all controlled by leftists. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Woman who wrecked Atlanta has thought on GOP commitment to America, and this is crazy. Atlanta is off the chain right now. It's really, really bad. It goes along with a lot of the Democrat-ran cities are just horrible, horrible places. Crime is up in all these places. But last week, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy announced the GOP's commitment to America. It focuses on reversing the worst policies of the Biden agenda that are causing record inflation, increases in crime, more border crossing, deadly drug overdoses, and dependence on China. For some reason, MSNBC thought of inviting the woman who destroyed Atlanta, former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, to comment on the exceedingly mainstream plan Republicans proposed. How disastrous was Lance Bottoms' tenure? Lance Bottoms, that's not her name. Her name, that's her middle name. Lance Bottoms. Okay, apologize. Tenure. The fact that she decided not to run for a second term in a city Democrats own should give you a clue. In the wake of the 2020 death of Saint, they call him a saint, George Floyd, Lance Bottoms gave rioters the same space to destroy that Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlins Blank provided to BLM protesters in 2015. Remember that when she came out in Baltimore, Maryland, it was like, we need to give them space to destroy. Like, what does that mean? What if they come down your street, your neighborhood, and destroy your neighborhood? Like, it's idiocracy. These leftists believe in idiocracy. While Lance Bottoms did not give explicit permission to riot like Rawlins Blank, her actions made Atlanta significantly more dangerous and violent. Through a series of public statements and official actions, Lance Bottoms demoralized and limited law enforcement while empathizing with the rioters. The problems started when she punished officers for using force to quell riots downtown. Then she amped up her anti-police rhetoric following the death of Rayshard Brooks. According to an investigation by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Brooks resisted arrest, physically assaulted officers, and tried to shoot them with their own taser. In short, the investigation justified the use of lethal force. You can't fight a police officer and think they're not going to fight you back. This is crazy. Instead of taking a pause and waiting for the outcome of the investigation, Lance Bottoms fanned the flames by stating publicly that she did not believe the shooting was justified, despite being unable to articulate where the officer may have violated procedure. She also issued new orders limiting the tools police had to respond to violence in Atlanta. Following her speech, shooting surged with 75 individuals getting shot between May 31st and June 2022. In the same period that year before, there was 35. So more than double. From June 17th to 20th, Atlanta Police Department, APD, was nearly inoperable due to repeated sickouts in several precincts. The silence on the scanners was eerie for such a large city. By the beginning of July, the Wendy's parking lot where an officer shot Brooks became Atlanta's own CHOP like autonomous zone. Rather than sending law enforcement in to clear the place, Lance Bottoms and other council members decided to negotiate with the rioters. And it ended with Republican Governor Brian Kemp threatening to take over public safety in the city after the murder of an 8-year-old girl. Rioters shot her because her mother drove the car too close to the sacred Wendy's by mistake. I remember when that happened. It's just disgusting that they allowed that to happen. I would have sued the city for allowing them to make a place like make an autonomous zone like that, to allow that autonomous zone like that. They should sue. I don't know if they ever did, but I definitely think they should. Sequoia Turner was martyred by the anti-police cause in Keisha Lance Bottoms, Atlanta. The fallout continues, and long after the riots over St. George Floyd ended because Joe Biden won the election. That is pretty funny. Where are all the riots and stuff now? Has stuff changed? You know, what's going on? Now all of a sudden the riots and stuff like that stop, which goes to that has me believing that all of this, the rioting and all this stuff, the leftist was definitely behind this. And now that the leftist is in charge of government, there's no more rioting. By December 2020, the city's murder rate was the highest in 22 years. Rates of aggravated assault and carjackings also rose. The trends have continued through 2022. The lawlessness that took root under Lance Bottoms caused residents of Buckhead section to seek independence from the city after several random shootings in the area. And I covered that before, how Buckhead wanted to separate from Atlanta because they couldn't stand the crime and the violence. Despite the chaos she reigned over, Lance Bottoms made her way to the short list of candidates for Joe Biden vice president. When she did not make the cut, she became the senior advisor for public engagement for the Biden White House. In that role, she sat down with Jonathan Capehart on MSNBC to support the Biden administration narrative that MAGA Republicans are a threat to the nation. The irony is outrageous, and I agree. Quote, there is a MAGA Republican agenda that gives no consideration to the rule of law, that has no respect for a woman's right to choose, that wants to defund the FBI. Oh yeah, I don't want to defund the FBI. I want to disband the FBI. Lance Bottoms said there is a MAGA Republican agenda that thought that it was okay to attack our nation's capital on January 6th. And it was not attacked. See, this is malarkey. But this statement comes from the woman who allowed riots to infest the city she ran for weeks during the summer of 2020. Her policies and lack of action caused the death of one 8-year-old in the immediate aftermath and dozens of young people due to increased violence since then. Atlanta is still bad. It seems like every time I turn around, a rapper or something like that gets shot and killed. The APD still suffers from an officer shortage after record retirement and resignations following Lance Bottoms' actions in 2020. So precisely whose policies are a danger to society, making the case that it is Democrat politicians like Lance Bottoms and other officials in deep blue cities that threaten the safety and security of Americans seems to be a lot more available evidence. Perhaps Joe Biden should pick more credible and accomplished advisors if he wants to go on television and lie. And I agree with that. And we all know she's in that position because of her skin color and not because of her merit. Because we looking at her merit, we knows that she destroys cities. All right, let's see here. Let's talk about this here. We got Joy Behar claims it is socialism for the Biden administration to assist Florida as Hurricane Ian barrels in. And before I play this idiocracy, let me say this. It's not socialism. That is one of government's charges. That's why we pay taxes, is to help places that get destroyed because of natural disasters. That's one of the charges of government. That's why we pay taxes. That's not socialism. Universal health care, that's socialism. She clearly don't know what she's talking about. But The View co-host Joy Behar claimed Wednesday it's socialism for President Joe Biden administration to assist Florida as Hurricane Ian barrels in. The panel responded to Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis showing appreciation in the Biden administration for approving his state of emergency declaration and provided assistance on Tuesday's Hannity. The Florida governor said politics must be put aside and the two administrations must work together to handle the potential disasters caused by the hurricane. And I agree with that. And she says, isn't it socialism when the government helps you? Behar said during the View panel Wednesday morning. The fire department got to come and the police. I mean, socialism. She's an idiot. She's an idiot. It's idiocracy. Well, let's play this dumb stuff that's coming out of her mouth. Let's listen to it.
We all need to work together regardless of party lines. The Biden administration has approved our request for a pre-landfall declaration and did that very quickly. So we're thankful for that. And it's my sense that the administration, wants to help. I think they realize that this is a really significant storm, and there's a lot of people that we're working with the locals. We work very well with them, of course, at the state level. But we really need everyone working together to make sure people have their needs tended to.
Well, I mean, he's the president of the United States. That includes Florida. And you don't have to, you don't have to agree with him about stuff, but these are his people, your people, our people. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. This is what they did in New Jersey with Obama and Chris Christie, That's the job of the administration. That's what they're supposed to do. Isn't it?
I actually agree with Whoopi. Nothing she said there was wrong. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what government is. That's one of the charges of government. Protect our borders, protect our country, to help in natural disasters. All of this stuff, that's not socialism. That's what government is there for. If they don't do that, then what are they there for then?
It's socialism when the government helps you.
That's what they say. Like Social Security and Medicare.
You see her face. You see the face she made. Like, oh, gotcha. Oh, gotcha. Like, that was idiotic. If you know how you look.
The fire department's got to come, and the police, and socialism.
Just ridiculous. Just ridiculousness. Hostin contemplated what kind of leadership DeSantis will display in response to the hurricane. Quote, I hope DeSantis can recognize in the way the Puerto Rican governor, he took a lot of flack for it, but he really organized Puerto Rico, and organized those mayors. Let me just play this. Take a listen to what she says.
What are we going to see from the individual mayors, and what kind of leadership will we see from DeSantis?
Well, what really ticks me off?
I think we should wait a day or two and let this do what it's going to do.
Yeah, but he'll be fine.
Wow, Whoopi is actually making sense in this segment here. She said we should wait and see what he's going to do before we get into this. Basically, I'm surprised Whoopi is actually being pretty smart about this, and I agree with her on that. 2 times I agree with Whoopi. I'm very surprised.
I think he'll handle it. He's not stupid.
No. She's talking about she's talking about the other folks in the.
I hope he can organize in the way that the Puerto Rican governor. He took a lot of flack for it, but he really organized Puerto Rico and organized those mayors, and the mayor of San Juan especially, where when you think about I'm
trying to remember Puerto Rico. I really don't. I remember Puerto Rico. It was devastated by a hurricane, but I really don't remember much about the leaders. I don't really remember much about that. I'm sorry.
DeSantis, in my view, he's like, he likes to have like a little fiefdom. He likes to.
Always with the attacking. Oh, what's this video here that's about to play? I'm not going to play that. But this article goes on to say that socialism Socialism is defined as any of various economic and political theories advocating collective or government ownership and administration of the means of production and distribution of goods, according to Merriam-Webster. Some of the main characteristics of socialism include public ownership, a planned economy, classes of society, state responsibility for quality of life, equal opportunity, non-existence of competition, and a pricing mechanism. The federal government has agencies in place that provide assistance to state and local governments in a time of crisis, unrelated to government ownership of means of production or planned economy. Biden approved Florida's emergency declaration Saturday, which authorizes federal emergencies management assistance, FEMA, and the Department of Homeland Security to provide federal resources and assistance to the state of a Category 4 hurricane barrels in. And that's not socialism, so that's just nonsense that she's talking. Let's see what else we got going on. Then we got Jordan Peterson here. This whole incel stuff. Jordan Peterson breaks down in tears over Olivia Wilde's insane comments. So let's talk about this. Before we get into this, let me because I think she mentioned something about incel on here. So let me Google and get you the correct definition of what an incel is. I haven't seen this yet. I just saw the so I want to get the definition of incel. So the definition of an incel, so before we get into this story, is a member of an online community of young men who consider themselves unable to attract women sexually, typically associated with views that are hostile towards women and men who are sexually active. So basically haters. They're dudes that's haters that can't pull chicks, so they hate on chicks, basically. So let's watch this video, and then we'll go over the article, and I'll give you my little 2 cents on it.
Quickly, the film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man.
Oh, it's a movie. I didn't know she made a movie. Olivia Wilde made a movie.
Pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community.
Okay, so first she called him pseudo-intellectual. This man is a psychologist. He has a PhD. So when you have a PhD, you can't call yourself, you actually considered an intellectual. That is not a pseudo-intellectual. The man literally has a PhD in mental health. That's what it is. And so how which means you are an intellectual, which means you've written papers, peer-reviewed papers, which by definition makes you an intellectual. So right off the bat, she's wrong right off the bat when it comes to George Peterson. Now, I like some of George Peterson's points. Some points I don't really like, especially when he talks about guns and stuff like that. He's anti-gun. You know, I'm big on guns. So some things I do disagree with Jordan Peterson on, but for the most part, he has really good thoughts, really good theories, and he is an intellectual. Olivia Wilde don't know what the heck she's talking about. So all right, let's continue.
Incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero?
I do agree. These men are despicable. Like, they hate women because they can't get them. I've never seen anything like. I don't understand anyone that hates anyone. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
To these people?
Sure, why not? You know, people have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men.
I gotta minimize this because it's not, my computer's not handling this well, my boomer tech. So let me minimize this. Hopefully my computer will. I got an error coming up, so hopefully my computer is it's a decent output. I apologize that I gotta minimize this like this.
Now, what a terrible thing to do that is.
Rewind a little bit. He's crying.
I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
It's making you emotional. Talk about that.
Well, God, you know. It's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are.
That's sad. He's very, very empathetic. You can tell he's a very, very empathetic clinician. You know, he getting teary-eyed like that. He feels for these people, and he don't like being attacked by idiots like Olivia Wilde.
And certainly many young men are in that category. And you get these casual insults, these incels. What does it mean? It's like, well, these men, they don't know how to make themselves attractive to women who are very picky, and good for them. Women, like, be picky. That's your gift, man.
Wow. Very, very empathetic. Very, very empathetic. And Olivia Wilde is just a horrible, despicable person. All right, let's see what else we got here. Again, I apologize for my boomer tech. Hopefully the output is decent, but might be some delays. I see it's skipping some frames. Let me see. 1 second. Give me 1 second and let me make sure everything's straight. Okay. Biden dangerously draining strategic petroleum reserve like campaign credit card industry warns, which is ridiculous. Now we're taking it out of the reserves, and remember he gave it to China. Our gas is starting to go up again, and he's depleting the reserves, and he giving it to China, who's supposed to be they're allies with Russia, who we're supposed to be against. And so why are we giving these guys our oil? That, again, I said it before, it's more evidence, it's more evidence to show that Biden is bought and paid for. He's owned by the Chinese. They got all his dirt. The laptop, his son Hunter Biden's laptop, proves that he is in the pocket for China. But with crude inventory and SPR down to its lowest level since Reagan's first term, President of the U.S. Oil and Gas Association Tim Stewart said the reserve is being used by Biden to, quote, buy down political risk ahead of the midterms. And that's exactly what it is. And that's not what the reserves are there for. It's there for emergencies. It's not there for politics. And he's using it for politics. And not only that, he's giving it to our enemy, China. President Biden is recklessly draining the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve to insulate his party from the political fallout of high oil prices before the upcoming midterm elections, claims the president of the U.S. Oil and Gas Association, Tim Stewart. Stocks of crude oil in the SPR fell 6.9 million barrels in the past ending September 16 through to 427.2 million barrels, the lowest level since August 1984, according to the Department of Energy data. Quote, this is the first time in history, honestly, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve has been used as a campaign credit card to buy down political risk for the midterm, Stewart said Friday on Just the News, Not the Noise TV show. Quote, let me put it in perspective if I could, he added. At the current rate, the U.S. is selling more oil out of its energy reserves than the production of most medium-sized OPEC countries like Algeria or Angola. That's crazy right there. So we're draining our reserves to production than most mid-sized OPEC countries. That's unfathomable. We're selling twice as much per day than we were producing out of Alaska. That puts us somewhere between Exxon and Conoco in terms of the impact we're having on the daily supply. And this is happening without new oil going in to replace it. And mind you, Biden he's doing all he can to end drilling. He's doing all he can to stop us from producing more oil. As Just the News revealed recently, the president's son, Hunter Biden, sought to land billions of dollars in deals in 2017 to 18, helping executives in communist China gain access to U.S. natural gas, oil, and energy infrastructure, according to internal business documents and interviews with congressional investigators. And that's what I was just alluding to earlier. Show co-host John Solomon, who broke the story of Hunter Biden's pursuit of U.S. energy deals on behalf of Chinese clients, asked Stewart for his reaction to, quote, the idea that the president's son could be working behind the scenes quietly to make our great energy wealth send it over to China, while the boss, the president, the big guy that they refer to in the documents, he's trying to lower our reliance on fossil fuels and keep us from using our energy wealth here. I mean, that's a great point, and that's a great point. Hunter is working behind the scenes with the Chinese, depleting our oil while at the same time trying to ban us from using oil. Noting that, quote, the oil and gas trading business is very, very complex, Stewart said, I'm no more qualified to be a trader or a broker than an influence peddling son of a former vice president. Hunter Biden had nothing to offer except for access to his father, who in turn could make a call. And that's really what's wrong with Washington right now, and that is why this story is so troubling to many of us. And this story is very, very, very important. This story really needs to get out there when the mainstream actually talks about this, because this is crazy. A lot of people don't know this stuff is going on. Stewart decries the sheer hypocrisy of Joe Biden spending decades beating up on the oil and gas industry, profiting by it for the 4 years when he's not in public office, and then coming back in and trying to hamstring and to kneecap our industry again. Like Stewart, New York Rep. Claudia Tenney is also blasted Biden for sacrificing U.S. energy security to his own partisan political interests. So there we go there. Very, very interesting. I hope more people realize what's going on. All right. Nets yawn at bloody violence in Soros-backed DA Philly. And Philly is off the chain. It's another big Democrat-ran city that crime is very, very high. It's really, really bad right now. Another day, another spasm of violence in Philadelphia, a major city where George Soros spent $1.7 million to elect far-left Democrat District Attorney Larry Krasner. Yet typically the networks on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning mostly ignored the shooting of 5 teenagers at a local Philadelphia high school. And I reported on that yesterday, I believe, which is crazy. It was a high school scrimmage. High school game, and right after the scrimmage, someone went and shot up the kids. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. An epidemic of violence has swept the city. Murders are about to hit 400 on the year, but NBC couldn't be bothered, and CBS and ABC barely noticed. On Wednesday, CBS Morning co-host Gayle King allowed 23 seconds. She quickly noted police in Philadelphia say a gunman targeted a group of high school football players after a scrimmage yesterday. One of the players, a 14-year-old teenager, was killed. 4 others was wounded, and police are still looking for the attackers. So let's play it here. Hopefully it doesn't slow my computer up too bad, but let's play it.
Police in Philadelphia say gunmen targeted a group of high school football players after a scrimmage yesterday. One of the players, a 14-year-old teenager, was killed. 4 others were wounded, and police are still looking for the attackers. Philadelphia has been hit by a rise in violence in recent years. Now, this shooting happened just hours after the mayor banned guns and other deadly weapons from all recreation areas in the city.
Yeah, because banning guns, that's going to stop it. Criminals, once you ban the guns, immediately criminals are going to give up their guns. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And having guns in recreation in parks that's gonna not having them in there, that's gonna stop it. People are gonna listen. Criminals are gonna listen. It's the most dumb thing I ever heard. But with no irony, King added, now this shooting happened just hours after the mayor banned guns. Yeah, we went over that. But the only other coverage came Tuesdays From Tuesday's World News Tonight anchor David Moore, or however you pronounce his name, allowed 15 whole seconds. According to WWIII Philadelphia, Soros donated almost 30% of all the money spent to get Krasner the nomination. And now, in his second term, Krasner is not prosecuting criminals aged 18 to 25. What? I have not heard this. These Soros DAs has to go. I'm calling them all out. Every single one of them. They got to go. Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner has presided over a surge in violent crime, and his new policy promises more of it. Krasner recently announced plans to de-prosecute crimes for offenders aged 18 to 25, ignoring how this age group tends to contain the most violent of criminals, which is true. I've worked in the prison system, and I can tell you that is an actual fact. Krasner office has established a new unit that will move some 18 to 25-year-old defendants into rehabilitation programming instead of seeking criminal punishment. It's a bad idea. It's going to get worse in Philly. If Philly and other big cities, y'all have to get rid of these crazy DAs, these leftist judges. You need to get rid of them, or the city is never going to get any better. Krasner has been accused of abusing the grand jury process in order to charge a police officer with murder. All of this deserves some investigating from the networks, but they don't want to touch the crime wave in Democratic Philadelphia, as well as George Soros' connection. The minimizing of a crime epidemic in Philadelphia. Oh, okay, that's just talking about a sponsor here. All right, what do we got here? This study here from PolitiFact. PolitiFact is nearly 6 times more likely to defend Biden than check his facts. And PolitiFact, if you try to get your facts from PolitiFact, then you're definitely not informed. PolitiFact never checks the left, rarely checks the left. This week, the Portner Institute and their PolitiFact website are hosting their United Facts of America conference to celebrate facts with the cast of liberal journalists, including PBS anchor Judy Woodruff, NPR TV critic Eric Deggans, CNN misinformation reporter Donnie O'Sullivan, and CNN legal analyst Joan Bistomic. We've also funded the fact-checking at PolitiFact has a liberal tilt. We also found, it has a liberal tilt. No duh. Earlier this year, a Newsbuster study of Biden's first year in office from January 2021 through January 19, 2022, found Biden was fact-checked 40 times, while Biden critics were checked on 230 occasions. In other words, they were more sensitive about someone mangling the truth about Biden than they are about Biden mangling the truth. Now, MRC analysts have updated the research to include another 8 months to the count. The pattern continues from January 20 to September 19th, 2022. We counted 18 PolitiFact checks on Joe Biden compared to 108 fact checks of Biden's critics. That's just crazy. How, as much as Biden doing, as much lies come out of his mouth, as much stuff that the White House have to come back and walk back, they only checked him 18 times. That's exactly a 6-to-1 ratio. Put it all together. And over the first 20 months in office, Biden had 58 fact checks, while Biden critics were checked 338 times. Overall, there were 5.8 fact check of Biden critics for every one of the president, which is ridiculous. The journalists are supposed to speak truth to power. They're supposed to check them. They're supposed to ask the tough questions, and we are not seeing that from the left. All right, let's see what we got here. CNN's Don Lemon tried to get an expert to blame Hurricane Ian on climate change. It didn't go very well. I can't wait to see this. I saw the headline and clicked on it, so I can't wait to see what actually happened. But as Hurricane Ian bears down on Florida West Coast, CNN anchor Don Lemon tried and failed to get an expert from the National Hurricane Center to blame the storm's intensity on climate change. And we know that when it comes to like hurricanes and stuff like that, it's normal. It's normal. This is nothing out the norm that's going on right now. Despite repeatedly prompting by Lemon, the agency's acting director, Jamie Rome declined to attribute this specific storm to climate change. Quote, "Can you tell us what this is and what effects the climate change has on the phenomenon?" I'm going to ask on Tuesday. So let me see if they got the actual video, if I can play the video. Yeah, we got it here. So let's play the actual video.
Can you tell us what this is and what effect climate change has on this phenomenon?
Well, we can come back and talk about climate change at a later time. I want to focus on the here and now. We think the rapid intensification is probably almost done. There could be a little bit more intensification as it's still over the warm waters of the eastern Gulf of Mexico, but I don't think we're going to get any more rapid intensification. If you look here, you can actually see, pretty interesting for your viewers, you can actually see a second eye wall forming around the inner.
I like how he maneuvered that, though. He was like, we could talk about it, we could talk about it at another time, though. I like how he did that. Because, I mean, these leftists are unbearable.
Eye wall, and that's basically the second eye wall has overtaken the original eye wall, and that should arrest development.
So listen, I'm just trying to get that. You said you want to talk about climate change, but what effect does climate?
He won't stop. He won't stop. He brings it back. Oh, wait. I know you say you don't want to talk about it, but let me ask you again, just in case you didn't understand what I was trying to ask. Let me ask the same question again. This is the thing that you need Gingrich. You need Newt Gingrich right here to be like, "Are you an idiot? Are you an idiot? You keep asking me the same question. Are you an idiot?" We need Newt Gingrich here.
Climate change have on this phenomenon that is happening now, because it seems these storms are intensifying. That's the question.
I don't think you can link climate change to any one event. Okay. On the whole, on the cumulative, climate change may be making storms worse, but to link it to any one event, I would caution against that.
Okay. Well, listen, I grew up there, and these storms are intensifying. Something is causing them to intensify.
What is he talking about? It's nothing. This is normal for Florida. It's nothing intensifying. It's a Category 3, possibly a 4. It's not like they never had Category 3, Category 4 storms there before. What are you talking about? How is it intensifying? We have the same number of storms we've been having every year. In fact, in some cases, you could say storms are happening less frequently in some cases. So what are you talking about? He's just pushing this dumb global warming agenda so he can take your money. It's not really based in, if you look at any type of science, it's not really based in anything. They're just trying to tax you. They're trying to control you. That's what this whole environmentalist global warming thing is about.
So this storm is it's a massive one. Its effects are also being felt in the southern part of Florida. What about the areas that may not be taking a direct hit or experiencing the storm surge, like on the West Coast? How much will the rest of the state be impacted?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because
that's what I was going to say. That's actually a valid question. That's how you ask a question. I mean, come on, man. That's a valid question.
To this other graphic, you can see this orange area is the size. So if you think about how big the wind field is, and you can just see how big that wind field is relative to traditional hurricanes, and as that moves up and over the Florida Peninsula into the southeast United States, you can see this big area, blue area of tropical storm warnings. So it's really going to be a big event for not just.
All right, so pray for people that's in that path in the path of the hurricane. All right, shotgun-toting crook exits convenience store after clerk emerges from back room holding his own gun toward the befuddled attempted robber. I can't remember if I actually went over. I saw this story a couple days ago. I can't remember if I actually went over it or not, but it's I think it's good to go over again if I did go over it, because it goes to show why the Second Amendment is so important, because criminals like this guy does not care about the law. You know, who comes into a convenience store with a rifle like that? You know what I'm saying? Except for a criminal. And it takes a person with a gun to defend themselves. What would have happened if the convenience store clerk didn't have their own gun? You know what I'm saying? A crook armed with a shotgun was caught on surveillance video entering a convenience store in Pensacola, Florida earlier this month, and soon made his exit after the store clerk emerged from a back room with his own gun and told the crook he was no longer welcome. Video shows the man holding a shotgun on the right side of his body after entering the store in the 4000 block of North Pace Boulevard on September 9th. The Escambia County Sheriff said authorities said that the armed man didn't notice anyone behind the counter. The reason, the store clerk saw the man arm himself outside, after which the clerk went to the back went to the back room and grabbed his gun. The sheriff officer said, "Good on him." And that's why y'all need to be paying attention to this stuff too, especially if you live in a big city. When the crook saw the clerk return, he freezes. Oh boy. The sheriff office explained, noting that the clerk returned to the counter holding his own gun, the befuddled attempted robber. And own gun toward the attempted robber. The clerk isn't visible on the surveillance video, but he's heard telling the shotgun wielder visitor to put it back. The crook replies, "I don't mean no harm. I'm just not from around here." Like, bro, you in Florida, man. They don't play around. What you got in your hand, bro? The clerk asked. "I got a big ass mother effing gun, but I'm not from around here." It's what I'm saying. The crook answers, "I'm from Chicago, bro," and then implies he's carrying a shotgun for protection. Like, you can't do that in Chicago, so why you think you're going? And then you say you're from Chicago, you gonna come to Florida, where Florida is they're allowed to have weapons, bro, and they're going to defend themselves. You know, they got the stand your ground law in Florida. That's the wrong place to be doing this. But the clerk is unmoved, telling the armed man again to put it back. The sheriff office quipped that words seem to fail you when your felony attempt is thwarted by lawful and righteous force. Amen. Good on him. Thankfully, he decided that it's not the time for a robbery, and he slowly exits the store. So let me see. We got the video here. Oh, before I get to the video, I want to read a little bit more of this. The sheriff office said the 32-year-old Rakim Stephen Tate was arrested September 15th in Santa Rosa County and charged with openly carrying a prohibited weapon and attempted robbery with the firearm. Authorities added that the Benelli shotgun used in a robbery attempt was recovered. Quote, "You're not in Chicago anymore," the sheriff office taunted at the conclusion of its post. "You're under arrest." Tate, who actually a Pensacola resident, was taken to the Escambia County Jail. His bond for the attempted robbery with the firearm charge felony was set at $100,000. Jail records show Tate's bond for the carrying a prohibited weapon charge was set at $1,000. Jail records show, and his court date is scheduled for October 7th. So he's probably gonna get out of jail. It's just $1,000 that he got to get out. So let's play it really quick.
Robbery thwarted at a local convenience store, and it was all caught on camera. This happened in Pensacola on September 9th. Surveillance video from inside the store on North Pace Boulevard shows the suspect walk inside armed with, you can see, a shotgun. But the clerk had seen that suspect before, so he entered the store. The clerk went into a back room and grabbed a gun, but you don't see that on the screen. The suspect, though, then walks out of the store empty-handed. Escambia County Sheriff's deputies arrested Rakim Tate 6 days after this attempted robbery in Santa Rosa County. He is now charged with robbery and carrying a prohibited weapon.
Craziness, craziness, craziness. All right, forget the blame game. Nord Stream sabotage is about the Great Reset and nothing else. I totally, that's what this is about. This is about the Great Reset. This is about destabilizing the world. That's why they blew up the pipeline. Then you got, this is posted by J.D. Rucker. Someone else wrote this, or from The Guardian, but J.D. Rucker has commentary here. He says, the story below by Kit Knightley at Off Guardian comes out and says what a few have been thinking. And by a few, I'll admit I'm very disappointed with the conclusion we're coming to is not being embraced by every single alternative or fringe media outlet. Whoever pulled the trigger to take out the Nord Stream pipeline did so on orders from the globalist elite cabal to push us even closer to the Great Reset. Let me enlarge this so I can actually see. Y'all know I'm blind here. This attack does three things on behalf of the globalist elites. The first two are obvious. It solidifies the energy crisis that was already brewing in Europe and thereby Western society, and it stokes tensions between NATO and Russia. The third thing it does is not so obvious. This marks the escalation of attack on energy infrastructure that have already been happening around the world, but that have been grossly reported. And I report on it. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy oil and gas so they can bring in this environmentalist stuff, and which they know is going to destabilize everything. That means the powers that be are moving on the next phase of their attacks by coming out of the shadows and doing something that actually gets reported. They're throwing down the gauntlet. They're coming for us, and they're daring us to try to stop them. Here's Kit. So here's what the article is. And if y'all got stuff, y'all, and this is my email address here. If y'all got stuff y'all would like me to report on, or any important news, you can email me at democrepublics@gmail.com, or you can email me at jjthepsychotherapist@gmail.com. But last night it was reported that blasts had damaged both Nord Stream pipeline that carries gas exported from Russia to Germany and other nations across Northern Europe. As a result, large amounts of natural gas were leaking into the Baltic Sea, and supplies throughout the pipeline were completely shut off. The alleged incident has caused a furious round of blame tennis, with accusations flying back and forth across what, for sake of simplicity, we'll call the Iron Curtain 2.0. I like that. I'm going to use that, the Iron Curtain 2.0. The European Union has claimed the pipes were sabotaged, but doesn't directly blame anyone in their statement. The Telegraph is already blaming actively the Russians, specifically Western boogeyman Vladimir Putin, headlining why Putin would want to blow up Nord Stream 2 and the advantage it gives him. He could just shut it off. He don't need to blow it up. That's my whole point. He does not need to blow it up. He could just cut it off at any time. And by blowing it up, he loses the leverage. He has the leverage. Now that it's blown up, what leverage does he have? I mean, this is just ridiculous to even believe that he would do that. Am I saying that it's not possible? No, I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm saying it's very highly unlikely that he blew up his own pipeline. All he has to do is go turn it off himself. On the flip side, the Russians have said the idea they would sabotage their own pipeline is stupid. That's my point. Some Western alternate media have pointed to Joe Biden vowed to totally shut down Nord Stream 2 back in February as signs the U.S. was behind the alleged attack. And that's what I said yesterday. The former Polish defense minister has come right out and said that NATO forces blew up the pipeline, according to Forbes. The question, one it seems I keep asking the last 2 years, is, does it really matter? And that is a really good point. It doesn't really matter who blew it up. The point is it's blown up, and it could cause World War III. Maybe the Americans blew it up, maybe the Russians blew it up, maybe someone else blew it up, or maybe nobody blew it up. The entire story is a fabrication. Whatever the truth may be, the end result remains the same. Gas and electricity will be more expensive. There will be a huge push to turn to renewables. Talk about climate catastrophe, and maybe even energy rationing and or blackouts. I know that's already going to happen in Europe. And this is what, I hate to say it, but Europe, that's what y'all get. Trump warned y'all, if y'all keep being dependent on Russia, y'all going to be asked out. If Russia to turn off the tap, then what are y'all going to do? And now look. And they laughed at Trump for that. And now look. People will freeze, starve, and probably die this winter. That has always been part of the plan. What reason is there to think this attack is anything but more of the same? I totally agree. Everyone is abuzz with talk of who did what, asking was it sabotage? But the simple answer is yes, of course it was. No matter the exact specific details of the situation, Nord Stream explosion was definitely an act of sabotage. The same sabotage we've been seeing for 2 years. The sabotage of our entire way of life by people who would profit both monetarily and politically from a sea change in the way our society is structured. The sabotage that leads to faking a pandemic, gutting our healthcare, locking us in our homes, and ruining our business. YouTube, just to be clear, I'm not saying that the pandemic was fake. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just reading this here. That's what this author is saying. If you want to know my takes on the pandemic, you can follow me on Patreon. But that YouTube, to be clear, that is not what I'm saying right here. I'm just reading this off. That's a shame I got to put this disclaimer in there, but y'all know how it is. The sabotage of our economy, our society, and our very bodies. The sabotage of us by them. And I agree. That's what this is. They're trying to take us. They're trying to bring in the Great Reset, and this is a way of them doing it. All right, let's go over a couple more articles, and I have a meeting in a little bit. I may check out a little bit and see what's going on Twitter really fast after I finish these last two articles here. War on women. Biden White House fused gender pay gap. Women in the West Wing make 83 cents for each dollar paid to men, analysts say. And that's funny because leftists supposedly supposed to be all for equality and equity, and they don't care about merit. They look at people by their skin color and all this other stuff, and it shows the hypocrisy. It shows the hypocrisy. On the 2020 campaign trail, Joe Biden promised to close the gender pay gap in workplaces across the country, but in the second year of his presidency, he failed to close the gender gap on his own payroll, according to a Washington Free Beacon analysis. Female employees in the West Wing earn a median salary of $83,467, more than $16,000 less than the median salary of $100,000 for male employees, and analysts of a White House salary disclosure found. They make good money. Well, this is crazy. The men make a whole $100,000 and the women make only $83,000. That is hilarious. The 16.5% wage discrepancy tracked almost perfectly with the national gender pay gap, according to President Joe Biden's own proclamation of Equal Pay Day in March, which stated that women across the nation make 17 cents less per dollar than men. So here we go here. The White House released its annual salary disclosure this summer, which lists the names, titles, and annual salaries of all employees. The Washington Free Beacon surveyed the salaries of all White House employees on the disclosure, which lists 173 men and 235 women. Excluded from the analysis were detailees who work at other agencies but are temporarily detailed to the White House. The existence of a gender pay gap at the White House is indicative of the difficulty of closing the gap, even for those who view it as an economic injustice. Economic experts say the gender pay gap in the United States is not the result of discrimination against women, but the other factors, including decision to have a family. Studies show that men and women with the same jobs and qualifications are paid equally, and that's what I've seen across the board. They don't factor in, like, especially if you let's say we look at doctors. We found there shows that men doctors make more than female doctors, but when you look at why this happens, men tend to work more overtime than women. That was the factor there. So that's why the men doctors was making more than the female doctors. And then you got that's if you're looking at the same job. You got others saying like you see more men engineers than you do female engineers. That's why men make more money. Like it's different circumstances like that, and they don't talk about that. A quote: "The next time you hear the Biden administration citing a national gender pay gap of 17 cents based on the median earnings and using the difference to advance measures to achieve greater pay equity and address gender discrimination, it should be noted that Biden's own White House has a similar pay gap of 16.5%. Said Perry, a University of Michigan economist and senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. In both cases, those differences in earnings by gender are not primarily the result of gender discrimination, but are the result of many other factors. And they don't look at, in the left, they won't look at those other factors. In March, the Biden administration released a list of commitment to advance pay equity and support women's economic security. The announcement claimed that a woman makes 83 cents for every man's dollar. In June 2021, Biden signed an executive order that called on the Office of Personnel Management to review compensation packages and report back to the president on how to advance equal pay. So, yeah, we get the point of that. More hypocrisy. More hypocrisy. Well, I got 2 more articles here. I'll try to get to them really quick because I got a meeting in 20 minutes. Where's the beef? Customers deserting Beyond Meat brand fake meat. And this is... people don't want that disgusting stuff. I've never tried it, nor will I. Beyond Meat, the company that makes meat substitutes, is in trouble. According to Bloomberg, the company's stock has lost 77% of its value over the last year. Wow, that is huge. That's because it's disgusting from what I hear. Again, I've never tried it. I've only talked to people that tried it, and they say it tastes nothing like real meat. But in fact, all plant-based meat substitutes are losing customer shares. Sales of refrigerated meat alternatives at retailers are down 10.5% by volume for the 52 weeks that ended September 4th, according to the Information Resources Inc. One reason for this is their price. With food prices going through the roof, a lot fewer customers are willing to pay a premium for fake meat when the real thing isn't that much more expensive. I agree. And according to Deloitte, there are several resistance at work. Deloitte believes the industry is suffering from a perception problem. In July, it surveyed 2,000 consumers and found a decline in the beef that the plant-based meat is healthier and more environmentally sustainable than meat from animals. While the environmental credentials of plant-based products compared to their media counterparts are well established, the health claims are not. Yeah, they're definitely not more healthier. Dillo also suspects that the addressable market may be more limited than previously thought, with the growing cultural resistance to a woke status, even among those who seek to reduce red meat consumption. Case in point, when Cracker Barrel announced plans to add Impossible Foods sausage to its menu over the summer, it faced an onslaught of criticism on social media. People don't want that crap. It's a twist on the go woke, get broke truism. Beyond Meat and other fake meat companies have profoundly been marketing their products to vegans and hip wokesters as environmentally friendly and healthier alternatives to red meat. While the benefits of using plant instead of gas passing, methane spewing cattle might be a selling point to some, any health benefits from eating meat substitutes are as yet unproven. Beyond Meat's woke image also took a hit recently when its chief operating officer, Douglas Ramsey, was suspended after trying to bite a man's nose. I remember that. I think I might have reported it on one of my platforms. I can't remember. Nose following the altercation after a University of Arkansas football game. And that is talk about what's the word I'm looking for? That's ironic that someone that's the head of a plant-based food bit someone's nose off. Just food. Douglas Ramsey was arrested on Saturday. Well, I'm not going to really get into that because I covered it before. The guy was so desperate for real meat that he probably mistook the gentleman's nose for pork sausage. That's pretty funny. All right. So this is the last little piece of article I'm going to go over right now. And I'll see what's anything on Twitter really quick. And I might come back later on today, depending on how I feel later. But pro-life groups claim FBI showed up to question volunteer outside of Planned Parenthood. This is intimidation. A pro-life sidewalk counseling group warned members Tuesday that President Joe Biden's Justice Department is determined to intimidate pro-life organizations, claiming that 2 FBI agents showed up to question a pro-life activist praying outside of Planned Parenthood St. Paul Vandela Health Center. In an email obtained by the Daily Signal, Pro-Life Action Ministries Executive Director Brian Gibson put members on high alert about quote a new effort by the Biden Justice Department to intimidate us all from the important work we do to save lives. Let me enlarge this because I'm blind, of course. Gibson referenced the FBI's Friday arrest of Mark Holt, however you pronounce his name, a Catholic father and pro-life activist accused of pushing an abortion clinic volunteer in Pennsylvania, though a spokesperson for the family told the Douglas Signal that Holt was defending his son from a man who was verbally abusing his son. And I went over that piece of news already. Quote, we have a couple of recent incidents locally in which a sidewalk counselor or prayer supporter had a physical altercation on the sidewalk, Gibson told members in a Tuesday email. 2 FBI agents came out to the sidewalk outside Planned Parenthood in St. Paul today to talk to the prayer supporter involved in one of these incidents. In a Wednesday phone interview with the Daily Signal, Gibson shared that on May 16th, a female Planned Parenthood worker allegedly began cutting up a pro-life sign outside the clinic with a box cutter. An activist urged her to stop, he said, and she went back into the clinic. Quote, when she came back out, probably about an hour later, there was a man who comes and prays every day kneeling down, and he was kneeling down near the sign praying, the pro-life leader explained. And the woman went back about after the sign to finish what she started. The activist pushed her away, Gibson said, and the abortion clinic escort fell down. Quote, he got charged with assault in state court in Minnesota, Gibson continued. All charges was dismissed because they didn't have a case. I mean, she was a woman wielding a weapon, and he's trying to prevent her from doing physical harm. And that's the individual the 2 FBI agents wanted to speak to yesterday came on our sidewalk. And I've been doing this for more than 40 years. I've never had FBI agents show up on the sidewalk before. The Daily Signal was not able to independently confirm the assault charges or that the charges were dropped. Gibson told the Daily Signal that he learned about the incident from another activist and did not witness the event himself. Neither the Planned Parenthood nor St. Paul Police Department immediately responded to requests. Gibson himself did not see the FBI agent at the abortion clinic, but the Daily Signal also spoke with Lucy Maloney, a pro-life activist who said she saw 2 female agents come to the clinic on Tuesday and engage in discussions with clinic workers and with pro-life activists or prayer supporter, as she described him, who had been engaged in the box cutter incident. This is crazy. All right, so let's check Twitter really quick before I go. All right. I used to hate Twitter. Now I troll. Let's see here. Black American men view on finances and relationships are bizarre, scary. Actually, I wonder what she mean by that. Going home is always an option. Something tell me there are few Black American men there. That's pretty funny. Must be nice people are the worst. Oh, come on. Let's see. Zero Hedge. Again and always, every attempt to channel Volcker and crush inflation always in the moment. A fund manager makes a phone call to the central bank begging for a bailout. So we got here jaw-dropping quotes on just how close we came to a catastrophe today. Senior banker describing the leverage unwind and guilt as coming close to triggering a Lehman moment. Oh man, Lehman Brothers. Asset manager accusing the Bank of England of ignoring calls to intervene sooner. Let's see what we got here. And the Brown community can come out and support Brown Panther. We can chill this time. I don't know what that's referring to. But let's see what we got here. Russia calls UN Secretary meeting over pipeline. Blames United States for terrorist attack. Wow, that's big. If you could hook one up to a lie detector test. Which one would get a Democrat more excited? I'm going with they love when a cop kills a black guy. They love that. UPS hasn't got their pickup for today yet, and it's getting crazy as stuff. Let's see. Locomotive machinist mechanic reach new deal with railroads. Let's see. Oh man, this is dope here. I like this. We're tired. We tried to warn you. Okay. I love Ron Paul. I'm going to retweet this. Biden's latest gaffe is another major clue he has dementia. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. Thank you, Bo Snerdley. That's what I was alluding to earlier. It's not Christian, Micah says. GOP inhumane stance on illegal immigration may backfire in midterms. I love when a non-Christian tells me what it means to be a Christian. I love it. I love it. Let's see. Some major advertisers have suspended their marketing campaigns or removed their ads from parts of Twitter because their promotions appear alongside tweets soliciting child P. The company told Reuters. That's disgusting. It's disgusting. Twitter. How does Twitter get away with this? How does Twitter get away with this? They can censor everything else. So if they wanted to censor child P, they could. They censor everything else. If I remember when we mentioned Hunter Biden laptop, they had no problem censoring that. But when it comes to child P, they can't censor that. I don't get it. Why I ain't on there, bro? Let's see. Joe Biden priorities could not be more twisted. Americans don't want more IRS agents. They want more secure border and safer streets. And that's a great point. So instead of hiring 87,000 IRS agents, how about you hire 87,000 more Homeland Security agents or something that could put 87,000 people that could protect our border? How about that? All right, I got to get ready for this meeting. So this will be the last one. In anticipation of an extended legal fight with Twitter, we all know it's a matter of time before the permanent ban. We've set up a legal defense fund. You can read more about it. Okay. Jim Jordan. All right, what we got here? All right, I think that's all I'm gonna go over right now. I might come back later on this afternoon, so click that alarm bell so you know when I'm going live. Check out my link in the description for my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram, JJ the Psychotherapist, where I put out tons of news throughout the day where you can stay informed. And check out themarkrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.